Hi, it's Rob from the Gym Tin here. I hope you're well. Welcome to this Lifestyle Tips. Today we're talking about breakfast. Is it important or not? Let's delve into this one, shall we? Grab yourself a pint of water, take a sip, pick around your lips and hydrate, and let's find some facts for you. Cheers. Okay, right. Is breakfast important? Who knows? It's very, very much down to your decision about how you want to process that and take it into your life. For the majority of this conversation, I'm going to talk about a lifestyle being somebody who isn't on shift, so is predominantly awake between the hours of 7 in the morning and 10 o'clock in the evening. Okay, if you're a shift worker or anything else like that, adjust it to suit your lifestyle and your times. Okay, so it makes it easier if I can just focus on one set of times. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so breakfast we're going to classify that as our first major meal of the day. And predominantly that will be first thing in the morning if you're waking up at 7 o'clock. And so, is it important to have breakfast or not? So let's have a look at it from the not stage of it. In terms of our body, there is evidence to suggest that we have an excretion phase of our body. Predominantly that happens between the hours of 4 in the morning and midday. We then have an ingestion phase, which is between midday and say 8 o'clock in the evening. That's kind of feels optimal for our bodies. And then between 8 o'clock and 4 in the morning tends to be our metabolizing stage. Now, that doesn't mean that when you intake food, about 8 hours later, you start metabolizing it. Of course, it doesn't. As soon as you ingest that food, your body's got to work hard to start breaking it down, trying to utilize it, break down the proteins into amino acids, etc. So what does it mean, though? The excretion phase. Now, for me, it means get up and hydrate your body, and do that first thing. And my advice is to all my clients is what I do for myself, which is every night I put a pint of water beside my bed. And the first thing I do when I wake up is to drink that pint of water. And the idea of that is it's encouraging the excretion phase. I'm getting through, I'm cleaning out the liver, I'm cleaning out the kidneys, and yes, I'm adhering to that theory of trying to clear out the body before I start processing more stuff on top. I'm giving my body that chance to do its homework. Within half an hour, I then have another pint of water. And the idea is that the first flush through the system is going to obviously give you a coloured urine. So what you've excreted has come out of your body. Then within half an hour, I've got another one that's going through my system. And then hopefully by the time I go to the bathroom again, which is likely to be within the hour, I'm clear and it's all cleaned out. And if it's not, then of course, then I'll repeat the process and keep drinking that water until I've got a clear sample coming out of my body. That might sound like a lot of graphic, a lot of information, but it then takes me on to the next point. It depends where you are on the cycle of what you're doing. Some people, and I advocate this, doing a fast day maybe once or twice in a month period. That's a really good way of cleaning out and cleansing your body. So in that case, of course, you wouldn't be having breakfast. However, the rest of the time, there is a lot of evidence now, and the NHS certainly supports this in the United Kingdom, to say that whilst breakfast is optional, if you want to have a healthy lifestyle, it is a good idea to replenish your body from the calories it's burnt overnight and to get that energy back into it. Now, some research that's recently completed says that studies have linked eating breakfast to good health. And this includes better memory, better concentration, and lower levels of the low density lipoprotein cholesterol levels, or the LDLs. And it lowers the chance of therefore getting things like diabetes, heart disease, and being overweight. Now, the logic behind that is what happens if you don't have that breakfast and you've got a physical job or a stressful job. The likelihood is that you're not going to have that energy within you to get to midday for argument's sake, your lunch. So we'll make an assumption here that breakfast, lunchtime, and evening meal would be your 3 meals of the day, with snacks obviously in between. Now, if you haven't given yourself that sustenance in the morning, the evidence does suggest to us that you're likely to have a snack mid-morning, otherwise known as elevenses. And for a lot of people, it's the social element of the day. So, of course, it's likely that you will then have a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, or something on those lines, if that's applicable to you. If it's not, whatever you do at that time. What I'm going to say next is that the likelihood is, if you haven't had breakfast, there is evidence to suggest that it's likely that that's going to be more of a sugar-based drink into your morning. Okay, so you're going to be putting in a lot of glycogen, a lot of glucose into your body right at that stage. And that can start to become addictive as well. So we can then want to have more of it. So it's likely that there's something else that we sugary that goes into it. And effectively, your body isn't getting enough protein. And then the first time you're actually going to really put a good dollop of protein into your body, especially if you don't have milk in your coffee or cream in your coffee, is going to be at lunchtime. So the evidence is that after you've cleansed your system first thing in the morning, in my opinion, then think about when you're going to have your breakfast. And it needs to be at a time where you can actually enjoy it and be mindful in your eating process. So when you're having that breakfast, take time out for it as well. It's not bang, 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 do your emails at the same time and scoff the food. It's take time out to enjoy it. In fact, there's a golden rule for you. Anytime you're eating food, it should be that is the act that you're 100% concentrating on. Unless, and I put this as the caveat, you're at a meal table with friends, family, and it's your one chance of social interacting with them. Then, of course, keep the chat talk going on. But if you've got the TV on in the background, if you've got emails and things going on, you're not going to be focusing on the food. And as a result, suddenly the bowl's disappeared and whoosh, you've not mindfully ate. So you've not actually felt, is your body full or not? Now, the Japanese have a wonderful tradition of eating to 80% of their maximum. And that's kind of like a bit of hit and miss and a guess. Of course it is, because how would you know if you're 80% full or not? But the idea is to try and eat to the point where you don't need to eat the rest of your meal, okay? And so therefore you're producing the right amount of food for that time. And it's eating to satiety, so you're feeling full. And the good tips to be able to do that is to have that as a high protein meal. Now, recently I've changed around my food as well, and changes the root of all goodness, so to some respect. So I've now moved my breakfast into being a high protein breakfast, and I'm loving it. It's giving me loads of energy. It's helping me focus. I'm not hungry. I'm certainly at the 11s. I'm not thinking, wow. And that's because a high level of protein in your morning is going to give you a lot of leptin release. And that's the hormone that's released into your body that makes you feel full. Therefore, you're going to pump more ghrelin, which is a hormone that makes you feel hungry, into your system. As a result, I'm not snacking, certainly between that period and to lunchtime. Now, the other thing is that I also do listen to my body. So if I do get to 11s and I do think that I need something, then take it. But again, try and keep it as healthy as possible. And then reflect on your breakfast. Perhaps you needed a bit more. Perhaps you cut back to that 80% and actually you needed the full 100%. So that's that. In terms of weight loss of not eating breakfast, there's been some study done by the SCL Health Organization, and they say it's quite logical, isn't it? You stop eating breakfast, and therefore you should lose weight. But a recent study has said there's no difference in weight loss between those who skipped their morning meal and those who didn't. So if you're trying to get that result by not eating breakfast, the likely is actually it might not be the one to skip. So think maybe about having a higher protein breakfast, a high protein lunch, and a good protein based evening meal, because that's going to keep you nice and full. Bring that evening meal forward, because there is evidence to suggest that time restricted eating is a good thing. So if you can make the last meal, say 6 o'clock in the evening, and again, if you wake up at 7 and maybe you made breakfast at 9, you could be having a time restricted eating period between, say, 6 in the evening and 9 in the morning. That's going to give you about 15 hours of cleansing through your body, which again brings you to 9 hours of eating, which would be a good thing to do because it gives your body that chance to process and do its homework of cleaning it up. So breakfast is optional. It is down to you. There's a buzzword in the industry as well of, it kickstarts your metabolism in the morning. Nothing kickstarts your metabolism, otherwise you're dead. The reality is that a high protein diet is going to, or higher protein diet, for every gram of protein that you eat, you get 4 calories. And it takes 2/3 of that to break down the amino acids. So, sorry, it takes 1/3 of that to break down. So you only get 2/3 of that 4 calories out of that gram of protein. So in other words, you're getting about 2 3/4 calories per gram of protein. So it is a really, really good way of getting yourself eating a good quantity of calories, but then burning it up, which increases your NEAT, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, where you're burning up, you're moving, etc., and then your thermal effect of food as well. So the amount of calories it takes to burn up as well. But breakfast doesn't jumpstart your day; it doesn't kickstart your metabolism or anything else. And then similarly, skipping it doesn't mean that you'll automatically overeat or you'll gain weight as a result. It doesn't quite work as simplistically as that. So I hope that's useful for you. My view is very, very much eat whole foods, get plenty of water first thing in the morning, certainly have that pint first thing, cleanse out your system and excrete, reabsorb, get some good quality food in there, fruits and vegetables, etc. Lots of high protein, good fats and carbohydrates, certainly for breakfast, certainly for your lunchtime meal, and then pull that evening meal in. And hopefully you'll start seeing results. I certainly have. So yeah, hope that's useful for you. I'll see you next time for the next one. Cheers.